Got it. So you're into gambling and drugs, and about 10 years in, you have a moment that makes you re-examine your life. Tell us about
Mhm.
that moment.
Yeah, so leading up to that moment, it was like around my younger brother had a daughter, so my darling little niece. I saw her picture for the first time when they sent it in the mail, and I saw like, oh my goodness, she looks just like my brother, and it just took me back to my childhood, and I said, what am I doing here? Like, what happened to my life? How did it end up like this? Why am I in this place? Um, my father's father, my grandfather, passes away that year too, and then it also reminded me about my father. And then I started thinking like, um, my father died like when he was like 37, 38, around there. By that time, I was like 35, and I started contrasting like my life with his, like what he created in this world and the impact and what he was doing already. And then I thought of my own life of, pain and death and destruction. And I go, how did I end up here? Um, Fortunately, I have always been a bookworm, and that is how I got my mini escape from prison. And I've always been fascinated with different types of books. During that time, though, I always loved business books, but during that time, I was reading like this series of books, which lead me to another series, and I ended up beginning to read books on the saints, particularly stories that told about saints before they became the saints. And I was very drawn to certain stories of these other human beings that had also had their own failures in life, but then yet how did they turn this around and then become saints? And those stories just resonated with me. Um, and then, of course, from there, it leads me into I'm also fascinated with books about mindfulness and books on personal development. So these all became like their own perfect storm of thinking of a different way of viewing life. And it was just one day on the prison yard. One morning on the prison yard, I was standing at the fence and my head was just filled up with these readings and my meditation that morning. And I asked myself, like, why does prison have to be punishment? Why can't this be a place where I can make myself a better person, even if I'm supposed to die? And that's when I realized I could. And just that small subtle shift in thinking made all the difference in the world. I felt the warmth of the sun when it was just barely peeking over the hills, and in the individual blades of grass, I saw the drops of dew, and up above me in the razor wire, I heard a sparrow chirping. And I tell you what, it's probably been chirping my whole prison term, but I never heard it. But that day I heard it, and from that day, like I realized prison was no longer punishment. I viewed the men around me like now I saw them as human beings, and I saw them as they are also on their journey. Many of them further along than me, and many of them that had not even awakened yet. But then I looked at this place that I was at, like this is only temporary, and I can still make myself a better person while I'm here. And suddenly, prison was no longer punishment. Prison, it just became, a place of where I found like such a sense of liberation and I tell people it was like a tranquil sense of beauty in it, where I found um, beauty like in the sun, nature around me, the little sparrows and the birds and just other people, and it just I just felt at peace for once in my life.
And what a perspective too. I mean, there's many times when we all feel trapped, and we're not nearly as trapped as you were there, but you found a way to make the best of the situation and use it as a forced a quarantine betterment program, right?